Well, hello there. How are you? Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you so much for joining the Gisela Di Carlo show. Wow, what a night and what a day. If you're here on the East Coast, you're probably frozen. Everything is frozen. My pipes are frozen. My chickens are laying frozen eggs. Not really, but by the time I get to them, they are frozen. Really, very interesting. The frozen eggs, the shell pops, and then you have this frozen blob. I wonder what you could do with frozen eggs. Does anybody have any suggestions what to do with frozen eggs other than thawing them? We want to say hello to Amnon, who is, even though he is having a bad cold, is producing this show. Thank you very much, Amnon, for
thank
doing
you.
that.
Thank
you
you.
very much. I know we're not going to let you be long today. We're going to make this a short show so that, like about a 30-minute show today, so that you can get back to bed and that all of the people out there, especially the ones with the partner and who want to go and have either go and have brunch or have a nice lunch or do something nice for Valentine's Day. I hope all the girls got flowers or chocolate or both. If you did put, I always put a request in. See, women should not, most women assume that men think the same way as we do. Well, I got news for you. They don't. I've been married 35 years, and I can attest to that. They do not think the same way as we do. So I have just decided, you know what? I'm just going to remind them a week before. I start usually a week before. Listen, next week is Valentine's. Do you know Sunday is Valentine's? Oh, what are we going to do for Valentine's? Are you going to buy me flowers for Valentine's? I would love to have some gelato for Valentine's. And so that usually works. You know, that gives it usually a good hint of, hey, buddy, do something. Now, what do we do for our men? Well, I have done various things over the years. One year, what I did is I gave them a whole bunch of little pieces of paper that I wrote a wish. It was a wish box. And I wrote on those pieces of paper, I wrote whatever he could get. And he could pick one a day for like a week or 2 weeks if I was very generous. And they were from, I will do the dishes after dinner the next time so you don't have to, even if I cooked. Because we have this rule in our household that if I cook, the one who cooks doesn't have to do the dishes. So I would put into that box, or I will do, I don't know, your laundry. You can have another wish. You can have a free wish. You can wish whatever you want. Those were rare, though. I didn't trust them to wish things that I would readily want to give. So that's a nice idea for Valentine's. And talking about Valentine's, I thought it was just really interesting to find out how this whole thing started. I mean, we know it's now a commercial holiday. Americans have a knack for making everything, even no matter how trivial, as a commercial holiday, which I don't really have much of a problem with, to tell you the truth, because we all want to make money and we all want to, and these flower shops and so on, they want to have at least one day where they sell a ton of flowers. But for all of you who do not know how this whole thing started, Um, it is really a Roman holiday. It was a Roman fertility holiday. And since it's really right in the middle of winter, um, it was a kind of a nice holiday of and holiday that would be able that would people give people, something else to do, get them out and so on. I think that is what in America it started more so. But the pagans, the Romans, when they first started to have this holiday, it was really more so from the goddess Lupercalia. And that was on February 14th. Now, and that started in 476 AD. And when the Christians started to get a hold of this holiday, they thought this was way too much of a pagan holiday day because it was a fertility holiday day. And in Supercalia, the goddess of Lupercalia was celebrated on February 15th in honor of Faunus. And it was an Italian rule god that took care of the fertility of herds, goats, and all of the animals, and all the people also. And the priests went around striking all the women that they met because they were apparently too much into the throes of this fertility. So the pagan named Cupid, a supposed son of Venus, was also involved in this. Now you are getting the drift, right? Cupid, Venus, the goddess of fertility. So the holiday had always a meaning, not so much of love, but more so of the procreation. But naturally, the church did not really want all of that. So the church replaced the elements of various love gods, like, for instance, Juno and Februata, Eros, Cupid, Karma, Priapus, with Saint Valentine. And Saint Valentine was an imaginary Christian. A number of contradictory biographies were created for him, and nobody really knows if there was really a Saint Valentine. It was really the imagination of the church at that time. The popes and the priests did not think that people should celebrate really in reality sex, procreation. And as you know, women were more so to be kept pure and holy, and they were not supposed to be, because the festival originally the Roman festival was a festival of sexual license. And St. Valentine's and Valentine's Day was created by the Christian church. And the roots of St. Valentine's are more so that the Supercalia was celebrated on February 14th for 800 years. And then the Romans had dedicated this day to more of a festival of sexual license. Now, the church said they nixed it. and changed it then to February 14th. And it then became a spring festival. And the well, they're all over the world. It's really celebrated, believe it or not. In Italy, originally, Italians celebrated Valentine's Day as a spring festival. And there also the tradition originated to give chocolates to the loved one, because we know chocolate has an aphrodisiac effect. So trusted to the Italians that they gave chocolates. And the bigger the chocolate, the stronger the love you will have. The French like to think of themselves as the most romantic people in the world, and it's often claimed on Gaelic shore that the first Valentine's Day card originated in France, when Charles, Duke of Orleans, sent love letters to his wife while imprisoned in the Tower of London in 1415. Now there. And the United Kingdom, the Valentine's cards are often sent unanimously. That means not that you say of who sent it. In the UK, a tradition dating back to Victorian times. And Victorian times, the Valentine's was very big in the United Kingdom. They were very ornate cards, and you could send them to anybody. And you often, like it states, you would not send the card, with your signature. So the receiver would have to, guess of where it came from. I find that's really very funny, but, they have their tradition. Even in China, couples in China rushed to make their marriage officials, as Friday marked both Valentine's Day and the Chinese Lantern Festival. The two celebrations fall on the same day, only once every 19 years. So I don't know if it's this year, but that's an interesting fact that I thought. And in the United States, the National Retail Federation expects people to spend more than $1 billion this year on candy, cards, flower, and other mementos marking the occasion. Now, that's very American, very American. So you see, Valentine's Day has been a long time. There's something on NPR that they had a Valentine's origin, and here's what they were saying. The Valentine's Day is a time to celebrate romance and love and kissy face fealty. But the origins of this festival of candy and cupids are actually dark, bloody, and a bit muddled. From February 13th to 15th, the Romans celebrated the feast of Supercalia. The men sacrificed a goat and a dog, then whipped men with the hides of the animals they had just slain. The Roman romantics were drunk, they were naked, says Noel Lenski, a historian at the University of Colorado at Boulder. Young women would actually line up for the men to hit them. Lenski says they believed this would make them fertile. The brutal feat included a matchmaking lottery in which young men drew names of women from a jar. The couple would then be coupled up for the duration of the festival, or longer, if the match was right. Later, Pope Gelasius, I muddled things up in the 5th century by combining St. Valentine's Day with Supercalia to expel the pagan ritual. But the festival was more of a theatrical interpretation of what had once been. Lenski adds, it was a little more of a drunken revel, but the Christian put clothes back on. That didn't stop it from being a day of fertility and love. Well, for all my younger friends out there, I hope if you are looking to have a baby, this might be the day. This might be the day to get pregnant. Apparently, it has been throughout the centuries this way. And there was really no St. Valentine's, or at least none that we can think of. Okay. But it always has been chocolates and flowers. And so as I had explained to you, the chocolates were because chocolate really does, is like an aphrodisiac. It sends messages to the brain to be romantically inclined. So men would have throughout the ages given women chocolates. Apparently, men don't need much encouragement because I don't really know of much other than oysters that has been used for, and I don't know of any woman that has given her husband or her lover a bushel of oysters to make them more fertile. So there you go. Now we know. We know where Valentine's Day came from. Any questions out there? Amnon, did you hear? Was there any news in this revelation of Valentine's?
Not yet. No, I haven't heard a thing. I mean,
okay. All right. Well, I thought it was all very interesting. I love Valentine's Day is one of those days that I personally have always liked because I sent all of my girlfriends little texts, and all of my other friends, I sent them text and tell them how I appreciate their friendship. And of course, my grandchildren, they get a little email or a text saying what fabulous kids they are. And
that's it. You don't ruin their teeth with chocolate. You don't.
Yeah.
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 That's
Yeah.
it.
And I think that's the way I've always said. I mean, my husband gets an extra special hug, and I do tell him, how lucky I am that he had chosen me to marry me. It was really the other way around. I had chosen him to marry me, but we don't talk about that very often. When I saw my husband, I had said, this is the guy that I'm going to marry, and I'm going to stay married until I die. And when I said that to him, he looked at me and his eyes sort of glazed over, and he said, really? And I said, really? So let's go and get a blood test and let's get on with it.
That's it.
And that was it, and we have been, like I said, 35 years married. So apparently we must be doing something right.
Absolutely.
But it's also that we do appreciate each other. And I think there should be a day that's why I like Valentine's Day. It should be a day that you appreciate your friends, the people that are around you, and say to them, it's so nice that I am your friend and that you are my friend, and that we get along and we make each other's lives sometimes a little better. It's a nice thing to be reminded to do that, because Often we forget, we forget to tell our friends and our the people around us how much they do for us and how grateful we should be for that.
Hmm.
So I think Valentine's Day has definitely its value. I don't agree with presents and yeah, flowers. Okay, that's great. Flowers are good. Chocolates are good too. But beyond that, so many men think if they propose on Valentine's Day, that is especially a great time. Women really don't like being proposed on Valentine's Day.
Really?
I no, I really don't think so. No, I think that's a little bit too cheesy. I don't know. I mean, it's for me. I
Yeah.
wonder what the audience thinks. Girls, audience, whoever is listening out there, tell me. Click on the little button there on the side. Tell Amnan of how you feel. If you think that it's especially romantic to be proposed to on Valentine's Day, I would love to hear what you have to say on that. So, if we don't have anybody who wants to share their feeling about that, maybe they want to share something else with me. Here's the thing that I've just found going away from Valentine's is, you know, this week, as you guys know, was born in Germany, and I did not grow up here, so I didn't go to school here. I now been here 35 years, and before that, I went to school, went to university here, but I never really had like these civic lessons or so on. So I didn't really know the voting process in the United States. I have heard of the Electoral College, but I never really knew what that was. Well, so I asked my husband. He knows everything, right?
Hmm.
So I asked him, I said, who are the electorates that are really voting for the president? Because as we know, we don't vote for the president. The people, the ordinary plebs, the ordinary people in this country, they don't vote for their president. All of this stuff that we are seeing on television right now is just circus. You know,
Yeah, it
the
is.
Electoral College votes for the president. So who are they? So I asked him, I said, who are they? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, who are the electorates that vote on the end for the president? He said, I don't know. I said, you don't know? You grew up here. You don't know how your voting is? No, I don't know. He said, well, then we had a visitor that day when I asked that question. He said, oh, I don't know. I think there might be some senators or so on that are doing that. I said, oh, okay. All right. Both of you don't know. So the next day, I had my Club 55, which I have on Thursday once a month. And I said to the girls, they're all about 50, 60, 70 years old. I said, listen, we're all concerned with this election. Who is the Electoral College? Who are these people? What are their names? How do they get elected to do this fabulous job? Nobody knew. They had some vague ideas of what and so on, but nobody really knew. And I would like to pose to the audience, do you guys know? Do you know who the electorates are? Who are the ones who are going to be voting for the president? when the nomination is over, because I don't, you can find out there is information on the internet on it. I did look up some, but it did not tell me how these people are voted for or how they get to be an elector. How do they become the person that on the end votes for the president? I would love to know that. And if any of you have the answer, please email me at Gisela at ptd.net, Gisela, Gisela, at ptd.net. I would love to know that answer, because I find it just really ridiculous that we're going through all of this circus, yet we're not really voting for the president. So I think that is an important piece of information. On top of it, I think it is really a ridiculous way of voting for a president. But that's just my opinion. So you guys may have different opinions. But obviously, I'm in good company with that feeling, because apparently 700 petitions have been throughout the years to change this voting process. And you know who always put it down? The Senate and the House. I wonder why. It might be a good idea to think about that, and to think of how what we could do to change it, because those candidates, there are a couple of candidates in this election that really don't make any sense. And if they do by some fluke or by some way get to be president, oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my, I fear for this beautiful America, this country that I elected to live in the rest of my life. I fear for it badly. So I don't want to call for a revolution like Bernie Sanders does, but I do want to call for an engagement. Get engaged, my fellow Americans. Get engaged. Find out how this can happen, that your vote, your individual vote, counts so little that it cannot vote for the president that is going to make all the decisions that impact your life, our lives, so very deeply. So I really would urge you all to think about that.
I
And
don't think it's done like that anywhere else in the world.
nowhere else,
Yeah.
nowhere else do people not elect, except if they're in a totalitarian
Well, that's different.
country,
Yeah. Yeah.
then their vote, well, they don't have a vote. There are no elections. They just like North Korea, I mean, it's just handed to from father to son, and that's the end of it.
Yep.
But here we have a democracy. Here we are a free country. We are free people. We have a vote. Why isn't our vote counted?
Mm-hmm.
I really find that not only a personal insult, I really do. I find that to be a personal insult to me. And I find it also really rather dangerous. I guess when this country was started, the founding fathers apparently were very, very smart. Um, and they tried to put safeguards into the election and also into the Constitution that would keep the democracy safe. However, things have changed so drastically over the last 200 years that many of those things that were put in place are not really anymore um, desirable or working. So I really do find that now the people of this country have to get engaged. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're a Democrat, an independent, or a Martian. If you live in this country and you are a member of our society and you're an American and you take full advantage of what American government can give you and what American society can give you, you have to be engaged. You have to say, my vote has to count. And how we can do this? Well, I have an idea, but I would first like people really to think about that. Email me, send smoke signals, do something, or really call your representatives and say, I want this changed. How can we change it? Get together with other people. You know, people in this country, this is the first election that I've ever seen. And like I said, I've been living here 35 years, so I've seen a couple of elections that people are really seem to be engaged this time. They really are, they are out in droves for Bernie Sanders, and they are apparently into the thousands for Donald Trump. There, I may think that it is more for the entertainment portion than for really a support. But obviously, that people are sick and tired of the good old, good old, good old, and same old, same old, same old. And if you are, then you should get engaged. Get engaged. See if the first thing has to be changed is this election process. This has to be changed. It is unbelievable that it is still in force. Um, Once we get engaged, and we can especially seniors, if we do not, all my fellow seniors out there, all the people that, and you know what, all of you young people that are now, uh, if you're lucky, you're going to be a senior. You need to put things, safeguards in place. You all are paying Social Security. And that is a binding contract between you and the government. But it only goes one way. It only goes one way. The government does not have a binding contract with you. The government does not say anywhere that they have to pay you that money back, that you can tap into that. That has to be changed because Social Security will just disappear. And then what? Not everybody makes throughout their lifetime enough money that they can put away enough so that when they cannot work anymore for some reason or another, that they have enough to live on. Not everybody makes that much money. So we have to put safeguards on there. And you know, at one point, we were all thinking that the AARP would help us with that. Well, that was a myth, too. They don't do nothing for us. All they do is make money by selling us stuff. So there's another big issue. But the seniors that are able-bodied and want to keep things for their and I'm not talking here a socialistic country. I'm not talking about giving away. I'm just talking about getting back what you paid in, preferably with interest. Preferably with interest. You know, United, the government can still use your money to invest, and that's what they should do, and use the proceeds from that investment for their own things that they need to pay for. But as it is now, what the government has been doing is April 30th is the deadline. Any back payments of Social Security you can tap into until April 30th, and you have to go and have your Social Security reassessed because there is sometimes money in there. I have not looked into it totally yet, but I will. And at a later show, I will discuss that in depth of what we can do with Social Security and how we can safeguard that. And um, they are calling it an entitlement. It's not an entitlement. You paid in for it. But if we just take it lying down, if we just not say, hey, wait a minute, this is not an entitlement. This is money we paid in. You owe us that money. This was not an extra tax. This is not a tax uh, uh, that we paid. This was for our retirement. We put that in. That was the way it was supposed to be. What's happened? The government has tapped into this huge pot, taken out, taken out, taken out. And now there is really a problem with Social Security. They think they're going to be running out of it. Hopefully not. Hopefully we get, on this next election, we get somebody into the White House that will make sense of it and that will honor the commitment that it was supposed to be. Now what they are doing is the next Medicare, all of our Medicare is going to increase exponentially. They are going to increase more and more. And again, I will come and I will do, if you email me, Gisela at ptd.net, and ask me questions. I will air on the show. We will talk about it. And as you know, I sell Medicare insurance and supplemental insurance. And I can give you also tips if you of how you can get the best kind of plans for your needs. I'm not allowed to tell you the plan over the air, but what I can do is I can do either a telephone or an email conversation we can have, and I can help you with that. If you have already supplemental insurance for your Medicare, um, please review them every year, because they continuously have new companies that come out with cheaper rates because they want to get market share, and so they put out cheaper rates. But that does not mean that they will give you a cheaper plan, because each plan has to have the same components. That is federally regulated. So if you buy your plan G, F, or N from company A, that has to be the same as if you buy it from company B. But company B charges you up to $100 less per month, but you get the same quality Medicare services. That is a federal law. So email me and I will help you of selecting a plan in your area, even if I cannot sell it to you because I might not be licensed in your state, but I can tell you which companies are in your state and that would be advantageous. Okay? So with that, I will let you go today. Have a terrific Valentine's Day. The sun is shining. It's bitter cold on the Northeast. So please bundle up when you go outside. And I am looking forward to see you next Sunday. And please, I really am looking forward to getting at least a few emails from you, telling me what you think of how we can make that we elect a president and how we can change our well, really, it's not really change Social Security, how we can keep it. That's really, I would like to know your thoughts. You've been listening to the Gisela DiCarlo show. I am so glad that you invited me into your home. Amnon, thank you so much for being the producer today, even though you feel so poorly. Take some calcium, as I suggest. It helps you with your body aches. Drink some hot fluid, go to bed, and rest. It's the best thing for a cold. Goodbye, everybody. And I love to see you next week. Bye for now.
You're tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, My Life, My Will with Gisela DiCarlo, The Tanya Love Show, Health Then with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Triangle Be Well with Howard Jacobson, Lunch and Learn with Rabbi Yisrael Cutler, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, Parent Dome with Ryan Miller, Current Affairs with Amnon Nissan. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.